Yes, ma'am.
Amber Neville.
Yes, ma'am.
Lindsay Walker.
Yes, ma'am.
Nikki Garifone.
And please raise your right hands. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will provide in this class will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God.
Yes. Yes.
I do. You may lower your hands as either side, asking that the rule be invoked.
Yes, Your Honor.
So there are hundreds of rules in the state of Texas, but there's one rule called the rule, and it essentially means that you cannot discuss any of the facts of the case with anyone other than the court and the attorneys. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So who's your first witness?
Nikki Garifone will be our first witness.
Okay. If you can keep the first witness close, and then the others are excused to the hallway or wherever the state, wherever you all have them.
We just got him back in the workroom.
Okay. Perfect. Great. Yes. You may be seated. Let the record reflect that all 14 members of the panel, the defendant, his attorney, and the state's attorneys are present. Good afternoon, members of the panel. At this time, the state shall present the indictment.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'll reintroduce myself. I'm Jason Fine. I'll be the attorney for the state of Texas, putting on the bulk of the evidence. What I'm about to do is read the indictment in this case. It serves two purposes. One, it puts us as the state of Texas on notice as to what we have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to secure a conviction. Two, it allows the defendant notice to know what he's being charged with. In the name by the authority of the state of Texas, the grand jury of Dallas County, state of Texas, duly organized at the January term AD 2018 of the 292nd Judicial District Court for said county upon its oath do present into said court at said term that Wesley Mathews, hereinafter called defendant, on or about the 7th day of October 2017 in the county of Dallas, state of Texas, did unlawfully then and there intentionally and knowingly by omission cause serious bodily injury to Sharon Mathews, a child 14 years of age or younger, hereinafter called complainant, by failing to seek adequate medical attention for complainant, and at the time of the said omission, the defendant had a legal and statutory duty to act in behalf of complainant, and that the defendant was the father of complainant, and the defendant had assumed care, custody, and control of complainant against the peace and dignity of the state, signed the foreman of the grand jury.
And to the indictment, how does the defendant plead?
Your Honor, I plead guilty.
Are both sides ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. State, please call your first witness.
May I do a brief opening statement, Your Honor?
I apologize. Yes, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. Counsel. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this afternoon you are going to get to know a little girl named Sharon Mathews. She was 3 years old, a sweet, adorable, fun-loving little girl. She was born in India. She was abandoned at a very early age and lived in an orphanage in India until July of 2016, about the time she was 2 years old. At that point, she was adopted by the defendant and his wife and brought to live with them in Richardson. Sharon had some medical issues. Sharon had some developmental delays as well. And this afternoon, you're going to get to hear from a few of the therapists who work with Sharon. You're going to hear from Amber Neville. You're going to hear from Lindsay Walker, who were her physical therapists. They're going to explain to you the delays that Sharon had, the work that they put in with Sharon, how good-natured she was, how hardworking she was. And actually, they got to the point where she had met all of her goals in physical therapy and discharged out of needing any physical therapy whatsoever. You're going to hear from Nikki Garifone. Nikki was Sharon's speech therapist. She worked with her in two areas. One, language development. And again, just like the physical therapy, Sharon worked hard at it, met her goals, was discharged from speech therapy. Nikki also worked with Sharon in the area of feeding therapy. Sharon had some difficulties. She would pocket food in her cheek. She had aversion to certain types of food. Now, what Nikki will tell you, though, is Sharon didn't have anything mechanically wrong with her ability to swallow or the structure of her mouth or anything like that. She'll talk to you about food aversions and pocketing food and what that means and what she did to work with Sharon in that regard as well. And Sharon was improving. She was getting better. But unfortunately, after those witnesses, the rest of today and the bulk of tomorrow is going to be centered around the death of Sharon. I'll tell you guys right now, we will never be able to know exactly how Sharon died. We will never know exactly how she died because of the defendant. You're going to know on October 7th, 2017, this defendant called the Richardson Police Department to report that Sharon was missing. He told police that he had put Sharon out in the back by a tree because she wouldn't drink her milk as some sort of discipline around 3 o'clock in the morning. He goes inside, he comes back out, and Sharon's missing. You're going to hear an interview that he gave, as well as a phone call, not to 911, but to the non-emergency line of the Richardson Police Department. And you're going to know that what he said on October 7th was a lie. It's one of many lies that he told. You're going to know that that lie caused the Richardson Police Department, the FBI, countless volunteers, search parties. It caused them to spend 15 days tirelessly looking for Sharon. All the while, the defendant knew exactly where she was. And on October 22nd, 15 days after he said she went missing, on a Sunday morning, Sharon's body was found. It was found in a culvert, in a state of decomposition that was so bad that the medical examiner in this case, Dr. Ventura, who you will hear from, was unable to perform an internal autopsy. Because Sharon's body was so badly decomposed, there weren't any organs left for her to examine. And so Dr. Ventura can't tell you exactly how Sharon died because of him. Dr. Ventura will tell you, had the police been called immediately, Sharon's body had been recovered immediately, she would have been able to tell you how she died. But that didn't happen. You're going to hear another statement from the defendant the day after Sharon's body was recovered on October 23rd, 2017. He comes back down to the Richardson Police Department, and now he's got a new story. And his new story is that he's in the garage with Sharon, again, trying to get her to drink this milk. It's all centered around milk. 3 o'clock in the morning, she takes a big sip of milk. She chokes and dies right there. And y'all are going to get to decide if that makes any sense or if that's a reasonable explanation whatsoever. He says that he then takes Sharon's body, puts it into a trash bag, puts the trash bag with Sharon's body in the back of his SUV with other trash, drives around Richardson looking for a place to dump Sharon. He decides on that culvert, which is about a half a mile from his house eventually. He crawls into the culvert, places Sharon's body feet first into the culvert, takes the trash bag off, puts her feet first into the culvert on her back. And this is corroborated by exactly how she was found on October 22nd. Now, I would anticipate the defense is going to say this is some sort of horrible accident. I anticipate that they'll point out that the defendant has no criminal history whatsoever. That we're not able to bring you one witness who's going to say they ever saw him abuse Sharon whatsoever. And they're right. The defendant has no criminal history. We're not going to be able to bring you a witness that says they ever saw him lay a hand on Sharon. But this persona to the outside world, this facade, we're going to break down for y'all. And you're going to see evidence of who Wesley Mathews really is. And by the end of this trial, you will know who he is. Not the persona, but who he really is. This trial is not going to be fun to sit through. It's going to be horrific. There are things that you will hear, photos that you will see that will not go away. I'll tell you that right now. But that's the reality of what happened to Sharon. And it's because of him. Your sole job in this trial is to assess punishment. And we talked about in jury selection, you're going to get to decide anywhere from probation to life. So as you sit here throughout the course of this trial, I want you to look at 3 areas. I want you to look at the nature of this specific crime. I want you to look at the defendant's actions and his character. And I want you to look at the victim in this case, Sharon Mathews. I want you to factor all 3 of those together in assessing your punishment. At the conclusion of this trial, you will be left with only one just verdict, and that will be a life sentence. Thank you.